the physical world interacting with the digital world. We need a lot of infrastructure. So the opportunity here is fucking massive. Excuse my language, but it's really, really, really large.
Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another CYPRX video banger. You all heard that intro. The opportunity is massive.
So the opportunity here is fucking massive. Excuse my language, but it's really, really, really large. $100 trillion of infrastructure investing.
Buckle up your seatbelts. This video breakdown is going to, again, attempt to show you all how embedded Ripple is with this new financial infrastructure that they have been building for the past decade. This video breakdown is going to give you a clear perspective as to how embedded Ripple is with governments and large financial institutions to help them build the financial infrastructure that is needed in order to facilitate large financial institutions onboarding themselves into this digital asset ecosystem. This is all going to take time. This is not an overnight agenda. Yes, the digital asset XRP, and again, my personal opinion, will play a massive role in the future of this financial ecosystem. You just need to have patience. You need to zoom out and understand the time that it's going to take and the time that it has taken so far to build this new financial system. I cannot stress enough, the devil's in the details. This information is readily available to each and every single one of you all. It just takes some effort to find it. The vast majority of these video breakdowns, except for the interview of Brad Garlinghouse at Davos, have less than 200 views. So take that into consideration. Nobody's paying attention to this information, yet here at CYPRX, we're attempting to push it out to you all so you can actually see what is happening. No mainstream media hype. This is all unnoticed information. Smash that thumbs up button and subscribe if you enjoy it, especially if you're an XRP holder. Remember, I'm not an XRP maxi. It is not my biggest bag. As a matter of fact, just to make things clear, HBAR is my biggest bag personally. However, XRP was the first digital asset that I invested in back in 2016, 2017, and I do hold a large portion of it. I'm just here as an individual trying and attempting to show you all information that is readily available to each and every single one of you all. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this video compilation that I've put together for you all. Do us a favor, smash that thumbs up button, share this video breakdown on your social media platforms if you enjoy it, if you find it informative, and as always, let's jump in.
So this is where the $1 trillion whale comes in. If we look at infrastructure, right, this is really, much like we say about crypto, it is a new asset class. So if we look at the world today, the largest asset class is real estate at $200 trillion, and that is larger than all other markets combined, which I think is something we don't appreciate. Crypto is teeny tiny. You can't even really read it. It's a little orange dot. Crypto is about a $1 trillion market today, although, you know, varies a little bit. A few years ago when I was here, it was a $3 trillion market. But then we look at where infrastructure sits. We have obviously equities. We have sovereign debt, non-sovereign debt. Today, infrastructure is still relatively small. It's a $5 trillion asset class. But with this massive investment that needs to take place, it's going to be one of the largest asset classes in the world. And so if we look at the investing landscape, I think when most people think of infrastructure, they think of really boring cash flow assets. That's what I used to think of when I thought about infrastructure. But if we look at this sort of opportunity landscape, most people think of infrastructure as low risk, cash flow generating assets. But there's actually a much wider spectrum as we start to move from regulated infrastructure into partially regulated or even unregulated infrastructure. And you might say that crypto protocols and what we're building operates very much in this opportunistic part of the spectrum. There's capital growth opportunities, it's unregulated, it's higher risk, but there's also the potential for tremendous return. So I think the shifting of infrastructure from this boring, stodgy, old school cash flow generating asset to a dynamic capital growth opportunistic asset is also a big shift, and crypto is going to be a big part of facilitating that shift as well. Is also a big shift, and crypto is going to be a big part of facilitating that shift as well.
About central bank digital currency, but we're also talking about private money. We're talking about stablecoin, tokenized deposit. We might be talking about native cryptocurrencies. All of these things we anticipate coexisting in some fashion in a mature marketplace, subject to regulatory frameworks that allow for them to interoperate along different corridors. But we're building for that. We're building for that future.
So the opportunity here is only 4% of portfolios have an allocation to infrastructure today. Very low. $100 trillion, only 4% of portfolios are allocated. So how do we start to change this? And how do we think about what role crypto and all of this stuff we've built over the last decade in this industry will actually play a role?
Ripple was set up 10 years ago.
And all of this stuff we've built over the last decade in this industry will actually play a role.
Ripple was set up 10 years ago to be the company to find real-world use cases for the XRP ledger and XRP, the digital asset. Separate company from the ledger and the asset, of course. And we really identified very early on that cross-border payments and moving value across borders was where we wanted to play and go after. We've been doing that for 10 years. It takes time, and it's taken a lot of effort to build a network now over 70 countries. But the underlying goal hasn't changed in the beginning, and our employees love this, our stakeholders love it, and it's all about moving value in a faster, cheaper, more trustworthy, and now greener way across borders.
But we're building for that. We're building for that future.
How do we think about what role crypto and all of this stuff we've built over the last decade in this industry will actually play a role in this shift? Well, last year, one of the things I talked about was how power in our world is changing. We no longer live in a world that is dominated by nation states. So historically, governments have acted as finance providers, owner, and operators of infrastructure, but that is no longer the case. If we look at what's happened over the last few years, many of our governments are operating under tremendous debt burden, and they need to focus on servicing debt. They don't have the capacity or, frankly, the political desire to engage in the massive infrastructure projects that are needed to actually modernize the world we live in. And they need to focus on servicing debt. They don't have the capacity or, frankly, the political desire to engage in the massive infrastructure projects.
Look, Ripple at its core is a blockchain infrastructure company serving enterprises. We started with payments and financial institutions. We've moved into custody, a lot of overlap with those same financial institutions. But we're going to expand with that same thematic of infrastructure, enterprise-based. It served us well.
And they need to focus on servicing debt. They don't have the capacity or, frankly, the political desire to engage in the massive infrastructure projects that are needed to actually modernize the world we live in.
Tell us, where do you think the market is moving, and how is Ripple contributing to the whole ecosystem?
So that's a big focus.
So you believe that collaboration and partnerships are crucial?
100%, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
And if you think about it, you have these big, slow banks that want to implement something cool and sexy, but they don't have the infrastructure to do that. So the only way for them to do that is to partner with crypto-native entities and businesses who can kind of bridge the gap and give them the solution they need without the heavy lift of building it themselves. And
they don't have the capacity or, frankly, the political desire to engage in the massive infrastructure projects that are needed to actually modernize the world we live in.
So we're honored to be working globally with many central banks. I think we've publicly released 6 governments that we're working with. Most recently, we announced a partnership with the National Bank of Georgia. We're honored to be working with them. We have several others that we're working with privately.
They don't have the capacity or, frankly, the political desire to engage in the massive infrastructure projects that are needed to actually modernize the world we live in. And so we see large private players emerging.
Look, Ripple at its core is a blockchain infrastructure company serving enterprises.
We have these decentralized public blockchains, and they have tremendous amounts of capital and resources at their disposal. We have these decentralized public blockchains, and they have tremendous amounts of capital and resources at their disposal.
Will you be profitable this year?
So, we have been cash flow positive the last couple of years. That has been a unique place in the market and allowed us to invest not only in the core of Ripple, but also in acquisitions. Even, recently you may have read we did a tender offer to our shareholders. Yeah. We've now repurchased over $1 billion of stock from our shareholders. That's something that's important to us, quite frankly, because it is not an immediate term priority to go public.
So in terms of an IPO, an exit of some sort, is that sort of parked to the side at this point?
Yeah,
or are you looking elsewhere, outside the US for a listing?
Yes to all of those. Okay. I don't think about an IPO as an exit. I think about an IPO as a step in the journey. Shareholder liquidity is important to me. We have investors that first invested in Ripple in 2012. So they've been in this deal for 11 and a half years. And so we want to provide that liquidity, which is one of the reasons why we've done these tender offers and now repurchased over $1 billion of stock. We have looked at other jurisdictions that have clearer rules of the road. But honestly, a lot of people go public because they need to raise capital.
Yeah.
Ripple's not really in a place where we need to raise capital.
We have these decentralized public blockchains, and they have tremendous amounts of capital and resources at their disposal.
And so it is not a short-term priority. We're obviously keeping that option open, and we'll evaluate it, as time continues. And
so the opportunity here is fucking massive. Excuse my language, but it's really, really, really large.
With this video breakdown in mind, I'm not here to tell you to go out and invest in the digital asset XRP. Again, I'm just simply showing you information that's going unnoticed via the mainstream media. So do us a favor, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the platform, stick around for more video breakdowns. We do appreciate the love and support. Thank you all so much. We're almost at 23,000 subscribers. When I first started this YouTube, I had no idea that we were going to make it this far. However, through trials and tribulations and continuous effort, we are here in an attempt to show you guys the realest information behind the scenes that the mainstream media does not cover. With that being said, many blessings to you guys. Be cognizant, be aware, make sure that you are doing your own personal research out there, and I will see you all in the next video breakdown.